And welcome back to this week's edition of Two Coaches, One Grizz. We come to you today with a special hurricane edition of our episode, as we're dealing with the outskirts of Hurricane Ian right here. But thankfully, on the West Coast, they're getting hammered. So, our thoughts and prayers are with our fellow Floridians there on the West Coast. Coach Grizz, how we doing today?
Yeah, they're going through a real tough time over there. It's a really big storm. It really picked up a lot of power over the last 24 to 48 hours, and it ended up hitting as almost like a Cat 5, and it's just the water has been incredible. So prayers to all of our friends and family members that might be out there. I have some friends of ours that do live on the West Coast, so my prayers have been with them, and we've been in contact with them.
Yeah, same for me. Hopefully everybody's doing fine, but unfortunately, when a real hurricane shows up, that's what happens.
Yeah, and listen. We're no strangers to this on this side of the state. We've all been through some serious stuff here, but let's jump right into it with some NFL action. All right, we're gonna start off with the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Surprising? Yes. No.
Surprising to me, it's surprising on many fronts, just because the way the game played out. I think Buffalo had its opportunities to win the game. They were not able to execute and finish. That's something that it's a little bit from last year. Seems to catch up to them at times. They're not able to finish games. Statistically, they were head and shoulders above the Dolphins in every aspect, except on the scoreboard. So the Dolphins did a great job of finding a way to win, which at the end of the day, that's all that matters. It's the scoreboard.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, listen. This was surprising for me. I mean, I am a casual Dolphins fan because of where I live. I'm a Giants fan. We know that already at this point. But this was, impressive that they were able to weather the storm of the butt punt, right, and grind it out and stave off the Super Bowl, what everybody has, the Buffalo Bills as the contenders coming out of the AFC for the Super Bowl this year. I see Grizz is very pensive right now. He's formulating his thoughts. No?
What are my thoughts? Well, first of all, good pick last week when you said 45-17 Bills over the Dolphins. Excellent. Second of all, no surprises here. It's what we do. Dubs.
Wow.
He was holding that one back, buddy.
He
had that one right up the sleeve.
He had that one in the holster ready to go.
Right up the sleeve there.
That was ready to go around 4:30 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, sir.
Incredible. Well, we hold each other accountable here.
That's fine. Listen, bottom line is Dolphins did what they needed to do. Like you said, Gil, we won the game. Every other stat, sure. Everything looked good on the Bills stat line. Problem is, on our stat line, we have something called the Sun. And the Sun is undefeated. As many people know, it's not good to play in hot weather like that sometimes. However, a lot of fans from Buffalo with the excuses coming out that, it's too hot. Oh my God, we need OSHA or whatever this is to come save us. However, same Sun was out there last year when they won 35-0. Same Sun was out there the year before when they beat us. So it's amazing how the Sun is in effect when you lose.
It's home field advantage for a reason.
Yeah,
nobody complains when it's
when we go up there and I got to shovel out the snow
so
I can see where the yard line is. Nobody's really complaining. So I call that sour grapes. I call that you're supposedly the Super Bowl favorite. Season's not over. Relax. You guys get us later. But as of right now, we're 3-0. You're not. And that's the bottom line. We only win games. That's what we do here in Miami. Number one team in the AFC. There's only another team undefeated in the league. And it's all we got to do. Just dubs. I don't care how we do it. You saw one way to do it against the Ravens. You saw another way to do it. Scoreboard. That's all you need.
Go ahead, Coach.
Well, you know what? It's funny that, again, I think that the lack of a running game for Buffalo is becoming an Achilles heel for them.
You can't have Allen keep leading you.
He threw 60 passes the other day. You cannot be that one-dimensional, and your quarterback, as you just said, cannot be your leading rusher game in, game out. You have to establish some type of a running game. Again, not because you're going to run the ball 35 times, not because we're playing 1990s, 1980s football. No. It's because you need it at certain times to be able to keep the defense somewhat off guard. The Dolphins, when Dan Marino was here, we had no running game. So when he play action, they were like, go ahead, hand it off. We're dropping back.
Play action doesn't mean anything for the Bills. The only thing you're worried about is this guy running it on you. And he would get away and get his yards, but that will catch up to him. And Cook and all these other guys, I thought it was interesting that they played Singletary most of the first half exclusively. I thought they should have, gone with Cook a little bit more because of the heat. You don't want to keep sending out, especially we're living in a league where they do that constantly with the running backs.
Well,
Why are you not doing it in the first half?
Stephon Diggs was almost like a non-player in the second half. Yeah. Fourth quarter, he was in and out, and he was exhausted.
Cramping like crazy.
He was dying.
You're talking about one of the most quickest guys, a guy that's super healthy, and that guy's cramping.
A dominant receiver. They just
didn't balance it out. You got all the plays in your favor, 40 minutes basically worth of time of possession. And usually you're supposed to have the defense get tired in the heat. They tired themselves out. And, I don't know. And, there's all this talk, Allen, this and that. I saw a couple short arms. Saw a couple dumb plays. I mean, let's. How many times have you seen both the first half and the end of a game, a team lets the time run out? Poor time management. Very elementary type of play calling to get to that point. You got to know, McKenzie, you got to go out of bounds at that point. Why are you trying to get that extra yards?
Agreed.
First of all, yes, with the butt kick, whatever that is.
The butt punt?
Butt punt. You got a minute. First of all, the only play that I disagreed the whole day with the Dolphins is that 3rd and 11 from the 1 throwing the ball. You should at least run 40 seconds off the clock. And if that same thing happens, they get the ball with a minute. They got the ball with a minute and 40 seconds around the 25, 30-yard line. Should be the most easiest field goal in your life. And also the beauty of kicking it off that man's butt, that it went out of bounds. Had that ball went out of bounds at the 5, the 10.
If they would have recovered in the end zone.
Touchdown right there,
over.
recovered in the end zone. So that's the best case scenario that could have happened. You know what you find out sometimes when you win these games? Good teams get good breaks. Every team that wins big championships have moments during the season. They get those breaks here and there. And that's what the Dolphins do. They get those breaks.
But that's a great point, right? Good teams find ways to win, and the ball bounces their way. They're on the benefit of some crazy plays. Yeah, and if you look back at it, every team, every Super Bowl contender, they made their schedules align to give them that ability to do that. There's so many things that have to bounce and break your way to be able to put yourself in that position. And I think finally the Dolphins may be in that in that conversation.
Anything can happen. We've started 3-0 in the last 20 years, and we
hasn't ended well.
And we haven't even finished with double-digit wins. So anything can happen. However, all you're supposed to do is win the games in front of you, and we've done that.
I would like to bring up, though, that the Bills Mafia of all fan bases are the ones that filed an OSHA complaint. That is hilarious. That should tell you something about the society that we live in today. Like, talk about poopy that you guys lost. To the point where they started an account for the Hard Rock Sun to troll them. That is hilarious. But awesome. Speaking of OSHA and workplace management, we got to talk about Tua Tagovailoa's little concussion controversy here. What are your thoughts there, Grizz?
Got a bad back. That's all I know. I immediately said he'd be starting in the second half. Hey, even if he looks like he's wobbling, you got to take the test. He was allowed to go back out there. See, here's the thing. If this is not the case, it should be the case. Why is there not a representative of the NFL?
There is.
Oh, there is.
There's a representative of the NFL
There's an independent neurologist at every NFL game.
And allowed him to go out, what are we talking about? What's the investigation about?
That's and was hoping you led into that point, and we're gonna get into that now, right? Like when they renegotiated CBA on the heels of all of the CTE and concussion scandal, they worked into the CBA that there would be independent neurologists, like Coach said, and independent evaluators, right? Like it's not the team. Obviously, the team doctors are there, but it's not the team doctors that are evaluating this guy and putting him through the protocol to clear him. It's those independent doctors, right? So they're kind of giving a lot of heat to the Dolphins, and the NFLPA put out that they want an investigation, but if the dude's cleared by the independent people that you put in place to make sure that this doesn't happen, why are you looking at the team? Why are you looking at the players? Now, I do agree. You need to protect the players from themselves. Of
course.
Because 100 times out of 100, at that level, they're going to try to go back in.
Of course.
Because that's what football players do.
But he had the whole rest of the second quarter and the halftime to be evaluated. Came out, he looked fantastic. Didn't look like he had any problems. Ever since he's been interviewed in the last couple of days, doesn't look like a guy that's had any fogginess to him. I know from personal back experience that I've looked like him, kind of collapsing when I've had.
And the other side of it is the story.
It doesn't look good.
Works the same way. The story worked the same way. When he tried to do a quarterback sneak, he was hurt. He got that's what.
First of all, I don't
back.
quarterback sneak with him. I like the QB sneak, but he's a little too small and fragile for that. And he's been hurt. I don't want a quarterback sneak with him. So when he did that quarterback sneak, you saw he was a little banged up. Back was hurting. Listen, it doesn't look good. It's a collapse. It looked like, he got hurt. But you also can see on the fall how that tailbone, how that back gets hit. And then, yes, the head does snap. But I feel like the back took the brunt of it. And it's something that if you just said it's been already talked about, CBA and all that, independent guy, I don't know why I'm having this conversation.
Right. Now
they're reviewing themselves. They shouldn't be reviewing us.
No, they should be reviewing the doctors there who said he's good to go.
The ones that they appointed to be there.
Right. Now, I agree with you on all points. Right? And I think, Coach, all of us, we would agree with this. It is a PR nightmare for the NFL, right? Because it's all over the nation. Right? It's all over the world. Everybody saw it, right? That's the issue here. If this is not a televised game or it's blacked out there, and nobody sees it, but think about it, right? They put all these things in place. They've, had to settle multi-billion-dollar, lawsuits.
Even more of a reason that if he was concussed, I don't think he plays.
I get it. But, it's gonna ignite that conversation.
Let it ignite all at once. We'll see if he plays tomorrow. Because that's if he plays tomorrow, then even more he shouldn't be playing if he had a concussion.
And that's one question this week as far as his health and the health of a number of Dolphins.
He was out there today practicing.
So we'll see what happens.
To the point, to close this out, of his effectiveness in the second half, right? Overall QBR, Josh Allen, 60.4. Tagovailoa, 78.9. So, yeah, he was there and effective and
he
clutch.
Was fresh because they didn't play as much. So he had all the time. And when he was given the time he needed, like especially on a 3rd and 22, yet again, another throw, 50 yards in the air on a dime. I don't, these questions about arms, before I curse there, these questions need to be already put to the side. Just evaluate the guy on the game he's playing. Not arm strength. He's playing smart. He's playing not to lose. Managing the game perfectly. You don't need, listen, you can win games with the Tom Brady's. And as we've seen before, you can win the Bulls with the Trent Dilfers, the Brad Johnsons. You just need an overall good team. And right now, the way this team is made up of, there's a chance. And that's all we want to play for.
All right, well, there it is. We'll see.
Moving right along.
We'll see. We're going to jump right into another in-state team here with the Bucs versus the Packers this weekend. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, they did just enough to squeak out Tom Brady and the short-handed Buccaneers 14-12. Okay? Yes, the Bucs didn't have Chris Evans. They didn't have Godwin, right? Their top 2 receivers. And it still was a... tight game.
So we have 2 of the greatest quarterbacks in the history, and what happens? They don't have their weapons. Do they look kind of normal? You need players. It's just every great quarterback, okay quarterback, you need players. Half your receivers are gone for one team. The other team, starting
doesn't have
receivers, is trying to build them on the spot. I mean, the greatness of these quarterbacks at the end is why you have Brady coming back at the end. And, a Rodgers that will still lead a team that with no receivers can still, with a good defense, win games on the road.
And to be honest with you, I think we need to give credit to LaFleur and the development of that running game. They're leaning on that running game. They're using the running backs out of the backfield as receivers. They're doing everything that they can to overcome the lack of receivers that they do have.
I agree. And that's why we have to give credit. The guy has won 13 games in his first 3 years every year. That's... By the way, the only other quarterback started 3-0 like him is Mr. Mike McDaniel. So these young coaches, they're coming in strong.
Well, look, going off of what Coach says, the way that they're using Aaron Jones and Dylan right off of each other, that's something that we haven't seen in a minute. Like, that is a perfect 1-2 punch that they have in the backfield there.
Dylan can start any team.
I'm not particularly happy because I got Aaron Jones on my fantasy team, and I needed a little bit more output from him. But and from a football perspective,
how was your fantasy week this week?
That's not. Can we move along? We're going off topic. It's a tangent, sir.
It was not a good week to deal with the Grizz.
It's a tangent.
In real life and in fake life.
It's a tangent. Okay, we're talking about
life. I like that one.
We're talking about the Packers. We're talking about the Packers and the Bucks right now, sir.
Real life and a fake life.
Okay, Packers and Bucks.
But again,
Can we get back on?
And he's putting them both on the field at the same time. Again, there's just a lot of little things that he's doing.
Smart.
That I have to give him credit. That he's doing a good job, and I think that for all that's been said with Aaron Rodgers, he has found a good relationship with LaFleur, and I think he's been able to go ahead and understand what his coach wants to do, and he's all in with him.
Yeah, and listen, I'm hoping, because as the year goes on and they start to realize, like, if this is a trend, right, they're gonna start backing the box, and it's gonna be, one-on-one cover zero on the back end. So these dudes do have to start building that rapport with Rodgers,
and they will.
And start.
I truly believe by the end of the season, some of these receivers.
I think Lazard will be okay. Dobbs, and they still got Tunyon, the tight end. They're going to be able to use them enough to score. Now, how many games they win, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to win 13 again, but I do think they'll be there.
It's just, and it's striking, right? Like, Gronkowski retires, right? Like, if he's there, you would still probably say, "Hey, Bucks have a phenomenal chance to win this game," right? He doesn't have a security blanket, especially with those other two guys out. So,
but again, in the defense for Tampa Bay, shows you how good their defense is. That gives them the opportunity to try to win at the end of the game and keeps them in every game. Yeah, it was definitely when you have the goat and the boat on the field at the same time, and it turns into a defensive grind fest. It's that tells you a lot right there. And let's jump to the Chiefs and the Colts. Okay, huge upset this past weekend. I don't think anybody saw this coming. I did say take the points. I said that game was a game to look at. That everyone was down on the Colts. Everyone thought the Colts sucked. And I said, this is the week where those guys all of a sudden play ball. Sir, that's how the NFL works. Sir, you said take the points. You didn't say that. I still said take a look at them. And again, I did say they were a prime candidate to all of a sudden win a game, because that's how the NFL works. When everybody gives up on them, Mario said they suck. They still suck. They suck. And he's right. They do. For the time being, they still suck. But they won. They did. Again, once everybody turns their back and the media is against that team, get ready. That week, they're going to pull something out. And the kicker's going to miss 2 kicks. Something's going to happen. And they win. I wouldn't put the house on it. I don't put the house on anything. Is it safe to say that the Chiefs kind of overlooked the Colts this week? They came in. I'm not going to say that. Went in their little conference. Listen, the kicker missed 3 kicks. I think they overlooked. The kicker is a problem. He missed an extra point. There's different variables in the game. The guy's on one leg. So no, but it wasn't him. It was Amendola. The guy that they signed. They had a bad week. And teams have bad weeks. Again, same thing. The defense. I thought the defense played hard. That's one thing that separates them this year from years past. Their defense is much better. He's getting accustomed. Mahomes is getting accustomed to 2 or 3 new receivers. Let's not forget that. It's going to take its time. It's going to take a few weeks to gel and start scoring 40 points a game. Aaron, I just didn't think. Now, he does have better receivers than Aaron, though. He does. But still, I just didn't think the Colts would pull off the upset. I would agree it was going to be a close game, I think. Maybe I said it wasn't. But in hindsight, I should have thought close game. Exactly, when your back's against the wall. I think this was their first home game. I think the first 2 games were on the road for the Colts, I would think. It's a big deal. And, the Chiefs, I think, did overlook them a little bit, which is just human. It's not going to be good for their next opponent. Oh, no.
Yeah, they're coming back
Well,
with
they're
a
playing
vengeance.
Tampa Bay, so I don't know how. I mean, again, I think that's.
I
gonna be
think
a slobber knocker of a game.
it's going to be a tight one too, but I think they're going to play way better in this game.
No, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, aberration early season, right? Overlooking them.
I think they were looking towards playing Tampa Bay, towards a little revenge. You think about it from a couple years ago. All these things factor in.
100%. Now, let's jump to the Eagles and Commanders only because
The Eagles are undefeated.
the Eagles are undefeated, right? Jalen Hurts this weekend with an 85.8 QBR. Okay, the guy has been playing out of his mind. He is an early season candidate for the MVP. Okay, again, we talked about it last week. What a phenomenal job! And
Take
then
the Jaguars this week.
what a phenomenal job! And them putting the pieces around this guy to succeed.
Jags are winning this week.
Wow,
Because
that.
I'm going to take this is the way I look at it. As much as, yes, the Dolphins, you could say their 3-0 is a little suspect. They've played two of the better teams in the league. And if you always want to believe the Patriots are there, which I think they're not, but you got the legendary coach. So those 3 games compared to playing the Lions, the Commanders, and the Vikings, when the Vikings on the road, primetime Cousins doesn't show up. So you got those 3 games right there. I think we're getting a little fool's gold. They're really good. They're going to win the East for sure. But I think it's just, I want to see them play something better.
Pump the brakes, you're saying?
Pump the break. If I had to pick between 2 3-0 teams, regardless if I'm a homer, Dolphins look better against the teams they're playing. Eagles look better stats-wise in the way they look because they're playing weaker opponents.
Strength of schedule definitely favors the Dolphins in that situation. Okay.
Because we were supposed to come out of this either 1-3 or 0-4. And I think everybody was pretty safe to say the Eagles probably would win 3-0. Maybe the Vikings would be their toughest challenge. But like I said, primetime Cousins, you knew that was going to happen.
With that being said, I think Hurts is doing a good job. I think their head coach, again, they're doing a good job of working with him. The throws that he's throwing, they brought in some nice pieces, again, to bring players around him so that he could flourish. The A.J. Brown pick was amazing. Their offensive line has been solid since last year. They're one of the better running football teams in the NFL. Their defense is playing well. So, again, Philadelphia is going to be a good team. They're going to continue to get better. But, again, once everybody jumps on the bandwagon, it's a time to go the other way. Look the other way.
Fade them.
No, they're just due. Listen, everything regresses. They're due for regression. They played 3 almost perfect games, right? It's like, oh my gosh, they scored points.
Fantastic. And not even because that Detroit game got a little dicey at the end.
And because Detroit again is playing well, Detroit is in his own right.
And like I said, for the Dolphins, all you could do is get the dub. Give them credit, 3-0. All you could do is win the games in front of you. They've looked great. And I did say also that Herbert and Tua, both guys, give them talent. They didn't trust both these guys, but if you give them talent, you gave them A.J. Brown, now Smith, you got 2 receivers. That running game is solid. Good old line. The defense is, you give them talent, look at what happens. Give the quarterbacks talent.
How about the 2 dudes who shared the job at Alabama, being the only 2 3-0 quarterbacks in the league right now?
Again,
it's impressive.
Oh, those guys are good players. They're good athletes, and again, I just think that they're starting to play, and they've got coaches that are helping them to get better.
Let's see. That's a great point, right? It's newer age coaches, right? This new guard of coach that, even though they're young, right, and they're bringing in these newer concepts, they understand, like, I got these dudes. Let's highlight, okay, and accentuate what they do well, and put in systems that allow them to flourish. Whereas in the old days, right, these guys would probably fizzle out because the old style coach was like, well, we're going to run my system and you need to learn how to do that, right? So, I mean, I think that's a great job, right? And we talk about that all the time, especially, in the lower levels. You have to put your guys in the best position to succeed, and they're doing that.
You have to adapt what you do to who you got. That's the bottom line.
So it's definitely going to be fun to continue watching these 2 guys play throughout the season and watching them develop. Let's go ahead and look at this week's slate of games. What are you guys thinking here right off the hit? You got
right off the hit, big game Thursday, Dolphins Bengals. I mean, right now we're going to see if we can finish this 4-game slate 4-0. This is part of the revenge tour for Tua up against Burrows. Let's see what's going to happen there. I like that the Bengals beat the Jets because if not, we'd have the Indianapolis Colts scenario of a team that needed desperation, 0-3, need the win. They beat the Jets. Probably, they're still going to be in that desperate mode because you don't want to go down 1-3, but it's a little bit more like, we won a game. So take that stress level.
I think Cincinnati, again, is one of those teams that everybody's crapping on, and no one thinks they can play anymore. They're having the Super Bowl hangover. They're not as good as they were. Everybody's riding high on the Dolphins. I think Cincinnati wins the game. I don't think it's a blowout, but I do think they win the game. The line has moved from 1.5 to 4. So, I think that's telling as well. Some of that is on Tua and his health.
And uncertainty there.
Tua doesn't play, guaranteed.
And the other players around him as well on defense and things of that nature. Most of them will play. But again, how many hits can Tua get? How many times is he going to be able to get hit and stay here and stay in the game and play? Yeah. So, again, I think Cincinnati wins that game.
The only reason I think Dolphins can turn it out, Burrow's also on that same thing. He has to be careful about getting hit. Because remember, he's getting hit left and right, sacked left and right. And our defense is savage right now.
Right, but my thing with that is that when you talk about back and lower back, man, any tweak is painful. And it's something that now you can't follow through on your throat. It just changes everything. Burrows isn't hurt. Yes, does he take a beating? Agreed. That O-line sucks, even though they brought in a couple pieces. It's taking time for them to gel and for them to understand their pass pro concepts and what to do. But it's not the same thing as Tua with a back. That's the only concern I have. He's going in already hurt. Burrows isn't. Again, thankfully, because nobody wants anybody to be hurt.
Of course.
So that's my take on it, and that's why I do think that Cincinnati at the end will end up winning the game. And as you just finished saying, the Dolphins have played somewhat of a juggernaut of a schedule. So again, the defense played
90 plays, and 3 days later they got to play again
in that hot sun as well. Even though they practiced in it, they did have to play.
Be a little cooler at night.
It's again home teams on Thursday nights. Take the under. That's how it works. That's just the way it's been since they started playing on Thursday night. Home field advantage and take the under.
I'm 1,000% thrilled with either a 3-1 start or a 4-1 start as a Dolphin fan.
Phenomenal.
But
3-1 and get to a healthy.
I too would pick the Bengals here if I had to. Thankfully, I don't have to.
I wouldn't lay the points, but
I still would think they win this game. However, if Tua does play and he's not as hurt, anything like I said, even with that defense playing as many plays, I still think they could get I still think there's a pick six or a defensive touchdown of some sorts in
Burrow's hands.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a close game regardless. So
you're gonna probably be a little surprised at what I'm about to say here, but I do think that this game with the Bills this past weekend was a psychological barrier for Miami that they broke through, they overcame, however you want to look at it, that I think provides some big-time momentum for them coming downhill. Okay? Like if you're looking at it as, whatever, a football fan, a coach, however you want to look at it, I think that mental hurdle that they just were able to overcome against a team that's supposed to be a Super Bowl favorite, I think now they're just going to accelerate like all cylinders going, and I think we may be surprised at what run that they go on here.
Hell of a call, because I'm looking at it as
what does that mean?
As a letdown spot.
What does that mean? Thursday they win?
It's a letdown spot.
I would say that Thursday they win. I think again like that mental. Overcoming that and that having that confidence where you walk in like we just did this. We can do it against anybody.
Let me do a little quick breakdown. Week 1 against the Patriots, the legend, first game for the Mike McDaniel era, and Tua beats them 4-0. That's a hurdle of we own you, Patriots. We've been owning you. Then you go week 2, you're down 21 in the fourth quarter against Lamar Jackson, who some say is elite. Some say could be in the run for an MVP.
Correct.
And we come back on that team. And now we've lifted a hurdle that, hey, it doesn't matter how much we're down. We're never out of a game. Then you come back week 3. The world is saying, you guys are frauds.
Myself included.
Frauds. Thank you. You guys are frauds. You're playing the best team in the league, a juggernaut. It's not how they're going to beat you. It's by how much they're going to beat you. Oh, by the way, half that stadium, Bills Mafia. They take over all their road games. They're an amazing fan base. You beat them. Regardless how you beat them, you beat them. They lose. They go home losers. So you've overcome that hurdle. So now we have to overcome the hurdle of the defending AFC champ, the quarterback that should be the greatest quarterback for the next 20 years on a Thursday night after 90 plays in the hot sun, like our esteemed Coach Gill has said. And now we're supposed to cross that hurdle. I like where your mind's thinking. And I totally want that to happen. I'm just saying someone that
to me it's to me honestly, like I said,
feels like
to me it's a letdown. It feels
like the normal. Yeah, it feels like the normal. We've been getting to this point, and now you breathe a little bit, and they beat you, and then you got the next week. We play the Jets. I think the Vikings.
And you get the
stretch is still there for that.
You get what they call the mini bye. You get what they call that mini bye.
And you got a little
because now you have 3 extra days to rest
to prepare for the Jets, ready. The mighty Jets.
There you go.
Got to prepare for them.
There you go.
So all that saying, we still could have that run, even if we lose this game. However, I have never wanted you to be more right. In fact, I'm a little upset that you did pick them because I really think we're going to lose. So now here I am torn between knowing that I'm probably going to be right with my pick, sad that it's against my team, but hoping that I'm wrong. And Frankie looks like a genius once in his day.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that, again, going back to that confidence does a lot, man. Like, when you can roll into a game and be like, bro, it doesn't matter what's going to happen.
It doesn't.
We got this. Like,
and that's why I think it will be close no matter what. Win or lose, at least it's a close game, and that shows you right there, no matter what. A team like the Bengals probably should win by a couple touchdowns. Not to mention, they're coming out.
I wouldn't say that.
But they should.
No, they should. Listen, to me,
a team that's stacked like that against a team that coming in.
Listen, again, I do
even
think
great teams get blown out.
But I think it's a 5 or 6 point game.
I do think.
At most, within, even again, if the line keeps moving, all of a sudden Miami does look attractive.
I love that.
Okay? But again, I do think Cincinnati wins the game tight just because of that.
I think they're winning the game because they're wearing the all whites. I like that.
Those uniforms are dope.
Tight. And you know what I say it, and I stress this every week. You play better when you look better. And that looks nice.
You look good, you feel good.
Absolutely.
You feel good, you play good.
Absolutely. I mean, kind of jealous, man. Those are some tight unis. So, you know.
Siberian.
You know. Hopefully we look good in the aqua.
All right, so let's jump into a couple of the games that I want to look at. The Bills and Ravens this weekend. That is a big time matchup against two MVP candidates. They're both playing.
That's probably the game of the week.
They're both playing out of their mind right now. You got Allen, who's already over 1,000 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a couple rush touchdowns, and Lamar Jackson's just all over the field, right? 10 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, and a couple rushing touchdowns as well. What do we think goes on here, right? Like they both have dominant defenses. Their offenses are extremely effective in their own right with mobile quarterbacks, although they kind of do it in different ways. Grizz, talk to me.
Not so dominant for the Ravens, I think, the defense. The Bills more dominant. I expect a big amount of points. I expect this to be fun. I expect to see if your quarterback is elite. Will he be able to beat the Bills? Will he be able to... This guy could probably have 6 touchdowns just like Tua did and still lose the game because that's what he's going up against. This and the Bills, you know, they're going to come a little upset.
Right.
So, I mean, I think this is just fun, game of the week type of stuff. I don't know what you think.
Would you say an AFC Championship preview?
Sure, every week's an AFC Championship preview. It looks like.
I'm not gonna lie. I've already taken money on that on the under of that game. That game has already moved 3 points down as well, from 55 to 52. I do think that because they do not run the ball well, I think Baltimore, because Buffalo does not run the ball well, I think Baltimore will be able to play coverage, play more too deep, too high safeties, and not be as concerned with the run as they would against most other teams. So I think that gives them a shot. I think Baltimore plays tough. I think it's a very close game. I think Buffalo, yes, it was a big letdown last week. I do think they're still tired. I still think that they're going to be a little, and if I'm not mistaken, they're playing in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So again, it's a back-to-back away. So back-to-back aways are not good either. So that also plays into the practice, the rest, etc. So again, I do think that Baltimore plays a lot tougher, and I think Baltimore has a chance to really even upset them. Like Buffalo could lose 2 in a row here.
I would love that too.
Interesting.
It would be.
Oh yeah, I know you would love that.
Sure, bring it on.
Division rival down 2 games in the standings. Let's jump to another matchup of 2 teams that are trying to get off the schneid here and are going to be pissed off and ready to go. Kansas City and Tampa Bay. Okay, which team do you think bounces back? Which team do you think goes on that 2-game skid?
I'll tell you, Tampa Bay. The key to Tampa Bay is the receivers. He's going to get Mike Evans back. I think that's important. I think that's huge. If they could get anything from Godwin, it would be amazing. Kansas City's defense is playing well. Kansas City is favored by 1. It's a toss-up game. It really is a toss-up
Pick
game. There's not going to be any. There probably won't be any home field advantage because of the storm. They might be playing the game in Minnesota. So, to me, at that point, it could give KC a little bit more of an advantage because I think they are the faster team indoors on the rug. I think they'll be able to play faster. But again, it all depends on what receivers play for Brady.
Agreed.
That's my. I think their defense against that again. The Tampa Bay defense is going to keep them in the game. I really believe that. I think that's the one X factor for Tampa Bay. That is all. Once they get healthy, to me it's like a couple years ago when they did win the Super Bowl. It took them like 5 or 6 weeks to gel, and all of a sudden after week 7 or week 8, they just ran the table. I think the same thing this year could be the same. I still think they're getting over the whole Brady vacation, and I think there's just a little malaise on that team that I think it's taking a couple of weeks to get out of it and move on.
It was the game against the Bucks that they lost. After that, they didn't lose again.
Not against the Bucks, against the
Chiefs.
Against the Chiefs a couple years ago. So again, that's my take on it. I just think it's player driven. It's very player driven for them. And I think he's struggling. If you look at Brady, he's struggling because he doesn't have that timing with those receivers. He doesn't have. Yeah, I think they missed Mike Evans big time last week.
I think this is a year for the Bucks where just get into the playoffs. Home field's not going to matter. Just be healthy. Be healthy. If you have all your weapons at the right time. Remember, it doesn't matter home, away in the playoffs like it used to. It felt like
be the wild card again.
It doesn't matter.
Be the wild card again.
You get, it's funny, but you get that extra game. You get the momentum. If you're a hot team, you don't want to stop playing. You know what I'm saying? So I think if they get on that streak, you're right. Down the road, that's why I think Chiefs win this game. Didn't even realize until you just said right now that this game could be played in Minnesota. Huge. That would be huge. I mean, then you'd have even better chance for your fans, better travel for them.
It evens out the playing field.
It evens out it huge. And even then, I mean, the Chiefs play good on the road too, so I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, if they have to move, I think it's huge for the Chiefs. And I think regardless, I think Chiefs win this game. I think right now the Bucks are just and once again, it's remember every week, they were winning. Great. You lose one game, they lost to the Packers in a tight game against a great team, and oh my God, Brady, the time off again. It's just we got to talk about something and react to something. I think he's fine. I think it's just like you said, you get the right pieces at the right time. You're trying to right now just stave off 8-9 games and be like 6-3, 5-4 or something like that, and you're still going to
be on the positive side and then hit that. Hit those
then
last
remember
7.
That you play in the NFC South.
Hit those last 7 or 8 games,
which doesn't matter,
and put you in a good position to win.
Everybody else sucks in the NFC South, so you're fine.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree on all the points there. Also, one thing that I don't think gets enough attention, right, with the Kansas City Chiefs, and the reason why I think the Tampa Bay has a chance to stay in this game and maybe pull off the upset here is, yes, they have a dominant defense, but also Kansas City's still trying to figure out how to play with the lack of Tyreek Hill, right? In the past, Tyreek Hill, that's the guy, right? Like, we need to make sure that he doesn't beat us, which opened up everything for everybody else. Right now, you look at their roster, you still have Travis Kelce, but he's getting older, okay? They don't have that one dude that's like, okay, we need to make sure we take care of him because he's a game breaker, right? So when you look at other defenses, playing a lot more man, right? There's nobody that they have to really double cover. If you look at the stats, CEH is the third leading receiver on the team, which means that they're playing man on these dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's really scared of these receivers on the perimeter.
They need Valdez-Scantling to, and that's been a struggle for him ever since he was in Green Bay, to be that guy that they can blow off the top, that they can get the ball to. So whatever, we'll see how things pan out.
For sure. I mean, it's gonna be a fun weekend with some good games. Gentlemen, I think that does it with our NFL talk for this week. We're gonna be right back with some college football. All right, and we're back to talk some college football. We're gonna start with the big games from this past weekend, and I know it's gonna give us some joy here to start off with Tennessee beating the Florida Gators. Shout out Gomez. Okay, Tennessee beats Florida 38-33 in a top 25 matchup with the SEC. Tennessee's ranked 11th, right? So people expected them to win the game, but again, it's always nice when the Gators fall. Grizz, I know you have some thoughts.
I do. Always, as you said, always nice to see the Gators go down as a Cane fan. I never hide from that. Not a fan. But the Gators have the Vols numbers. They had won 16 of 17, so nothing was, in stone that this would happen. The Tennessee has choked away a lot of games. This is probably the first time, I think, in a long time that both teams were in the top 25. This used to be the game in the 90s that you would, I think third week in September or whenever it was, you got to watch this game. So I'm glad Tennessee's back. They won this game. Huge for them. They could not lose this game. They could not. See, the Gators are kind of in the rebuild mode. They should be fine at the end of this year, but Tennessee needs this. Like, they have to still play Georgia and Alabama. It's not going to be easy, but I thought they pretty much handled them pretty much the whole game until the end. There was an onside kick. There was a chance. But once again, dubs all we need.
Yeah, I mean, it's satisfying more so because, I wouldn't really care much, but because of the arrogance of some of our friends. And so that's why I take a little pleasure in seeing them losing from week to week. Now, they're 2-2, like you said, they're a little bit of a rebuild mode, right? So, they're going to try to spin it to where we're young and we're trying to get back to the top. It's Tennessee, Florida.
That's what losers say.
Correct. Coach?
Again, I think Florida has done well so far as the season goes with a new head coach, new offense. Anthony Richardson being the new quarterback, new starter. So again, this game was not a game that I thought that Florida really had a chance to win. I did think the point spread was rather large. But Tennessee has become a solid SEC team. I think Hypo is doing a very good job there with their offense. Their quarterback is looking really good. Their defense has played, for the most part, solidly. We'll see how they go down the road. SEC again is the best conference of football, or is considered the best conference in football. So Tennessee winning this game is not something that was out of the ordinary. We'll see what happens as they go on and who they play, and I think the Gators will start winning down the road as they play lesser opponents.
Now, I will give a little bit of credit to Richardson. He did pass for 453 yards in the game, still in a loss.
They were able to complete their first touchdown pass of the season.
Yeah, those felt more like those yards you need when you're in that garbage comeback mode.
Yeah,
which they should have covered. That spread was high. They should have covered because that last minute little prevent defense caused them. But it's okay. I'm saying the Vols should have covered. I know the Gators did.
Let's jump to another SEC matchup. Okay, Arkansas versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M outlasts Arkansas 23-21. All right. Texas A&M, still ranked in the top 25. They're ranked 23. Arkansas was ranked 10, so it was a big win for them to kind of bounce back after a surprising and some would say embarrassing loss, to Appalachian State. So, how do you think this is going to go or fare for them the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, last week's game, they were able to beat Arkansas, and I think A&M. A&M defensively is a very, very good football team. They've been good defensively since last year. Their biggest problem, which, I mean, it's funny because Jimbo Fisher is an offensive guy. Their biggest problem comes on offense. They have not been able to find the quarterback. As good as their recruiting classes have been, quarterbacks has been an issue. It continues to be an issue. I think the young man that they have now is one of those guys that's a caretaker. Okay, he's not a stud. He's not a guy that you can ride. He ends up being a caretaker. So again, I think that they're going to run into trouble as the season progresses. This weekend coming up, they play at Mississippi State. I think that's a game that's going to give them problems. I think Mississippi State beats them on that in this week coming up. But since you asked, that's the way I look at it. Again, sadly, their offense just isn't, and their running back I think is out as well. I think the starting running back for A&M is out, and their starting receiver, their best receiver is out. I think for the season, and that's a huge blow because he's one of the guys that hurt Miami big last week or the week before.
The offense has been suspect. They got lucky again this week because that one of the craziest defensive touchdowns went their way, an 82-yard fumble return, which was insane. And then last kick Arkansas has, boom, off the crossbar, crushing everybody on the Razorback side. So they got away with one big rivalry game, but I think, they're going to get exposed once they start playing more of the meat.
So I asked you that for that reason, right? And you said caretaker. And the phrase that I had in my head was game manager, right? He only completes 11 of 21 of pass attempts for 151 yards. Game manager to the fullest extent. He is
the son of Brad Johnson, so game manager is in the blood.
Yeah.
He's a Trent Dilfer.
There you go. And it's fun. It's like you said, it's funny. Like for all these vaunted, draft or not draft, but recruiting classes that they had or have had in these past couple years, can't find the dude back there.
Well, King was supposed to be the guy. King is a tremendous athlete. He was supposed to be the guy, but he has just not panned out. Last year he got hurt. This year through 3 weeks of the season or 2 weeks of the season, he just couldn't get it going. Johnson has been able to win. Johnson does just enough to win, and doesn't put them in bad positions. So again, this is a tough test this week. Like I said, I think Mississippi State does beat them. But that's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect example of when we talk about the SEC teams just beating themselves up, right? The war of attrition, the grind that it is from week to week, in that league, and how hard it is really to go undefeated or to win out, even in your side of the conference, right, in your division. So definitely interesting to see what they're going to be doing this upcoming week. Let's jump into a ACC matchup. Clemson outlasting Wake Forest 51-45 in overtime. Okay, Clemson now goes to 4-0. They're ranked 5 right now as we're currently speaking. But talk about barn burner. Holy crap, Coach.
Wake Forest put up a great fight. Clemson did outlast them. DJ came up with some big throws and was able to keep them in the game and win the game. I'm not completely sold on the Wake Forest defense. We'll see this week when they play NC State how he does against them. It's a big game. This is a championship game for the Atlantic as far as I'm concerned. Again, the quarterback for Wake Forest have been out for a couple of weeks, so he's still trying to get back into the groove of things. Had a great game. They put up monster points against a good defense because Clemson has continued their defense to play well and make plays. Their D-line is exceptional.
I feel like Ugalele's performance this past weekend was for you, right? 26-41, 371 yards, 5 touchdowns. Right?
Listen,
you have been saying that he was suspect the entire time.
I still believe
that.
Like,
say my name.
Like I said, Wake Forest is not the Okay, Wake Forest is not a defense that you can say, oh my God. Now, you know what?
Builder.
Listen, as we go down the road, he's got NC State. He's got to play Syracuse. Syracuse has had Clemson's number the last 2 or 3 years. Even when they've been 2-7, okay, they've beaten Clemson.
And now an undefeated FSU that's tougher than they were thought.
So again, as we progress and he plays better defenses, okay, even though FSU's defense this year is a little suspect, I want to see what he can do against
When the bullets are actually
against
flying.
those teams. Wake Forest is not a defense. Wake Forest defense is mediocre at best.
This is definitely the game that he can put up the numbers in. This is let me get some stats going here. I mean, no interceptions, 5 touchdowns, like you said. That's a pretty nice game. But you're right. NC State's a different animal. Let's see. You're going on the road there.
No, they're playing at home.
They're playing at home?
Clemson plays at home.
So it should be a little bit more comfortable, but you're still playing against a defense that is going to be the best you've seen all year.
Yes and no, because all of a sudden you start playing poorly. You don't make the throws. All of a sudden your home crowd is not a happy crowd.
I know. There you
So-
go. They're not going to get rid of him in this game, though.
No. Again, I believe that this is a game. This is the game that is a make or break for my boy.
Interesting. We shall see. Let's jump over to some interesting upsets that we had this past weekend. Kansas State beating Oklahoma 41-34. Both teams went in, Oklahoma went in undefeated, and kind of a surprise.
No, huge shocker. Huge shocker. I think, again, and K-State does that. Kleiman does a great job with pulling off upsets. K-State, and we talked about it in our preview for this season. Kansas State's going to be sneaky. They're sneaky good. They're a solid program. Oklahoma is, again, still figuring things out. They really are. Anytime you get a new head coach, a new staff, you've got to figure things out. It's going to take time. And that first year, you're going to lose a couple games that you might not think you were going to lose. And this is one of those.
And like, new staff or not, Oklahoma does this every year. They're always...
Well, the Pac-12 is famous for this.
Who?
I'm sorry, the Big 12 is famous.
Of course, the Big 12.
The Big 12 is famous
but
for dropping.
Oklahoma specifically
Correct.
loses this one game every year, either to an Iowa State. Yeah, they've lost 3 out of the last 4 to Kansas State. Kansas State's had their number. This is at home. They're supposed to win this game. Every year, Oklahoma is going to give you this kind of performance once a year, and then they're going to look like national title contenders. By the end of the year, they'll blow out OK State like always. But they just do this every year. It's happened forever with Stoops, and now, unfortunately, it's passed on with this guy. I mean,
well, it happened with the last guy.
Yeah, I mean,
my boy that's over at USC. It happened with him
with
too.
Lincoln Riley too. They just lose that one game that just boggles your mind. At home, where they never lose, they've lost like 8 times in 20 years. It's crazy.
I mean, and then you look at the box score, and it's like Adrian Martinez, man, talk about an X factor. 21 of 34 for 234 in the yards in the air,
touchdowns.
And 21 attempts for 148 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground.
He's a Nebraska transfer that never had this game.
Maybe it was Nebraska. Yeah, maybe it is Nebraska. It
probably was, because if this guy stays on Nebraska, Frost probably still has his job, because
if he played like this.
Yeah, he never played like this.
No, he
when
always
was
found
there.
a way to fumble.
Yeah.
Sadly, his time in Nebraska was like that.
Yeah, it was definitely
he had a fumble
his time
here,
up,
interception, whatever.
They definitely wish they had that guy.
I mean, that's like, wow. That jumps out at you. You don't expect that from that dude, especially after what you saw from him in Nebraska. Heartbreaker here. Texas getting upset by Texas Tech 37-34. This is something that I don't think anybody saw coming. Okay, now Texas is 2-2. Okay, after what should have been a win really against Alabama a couple weeks back. Where do you think they go from here? Right, we were praising them a couple weeks back.
I still think they bounce back. They have an important game this week against West Virginia at home. I think they bounce back. Again, sadly, this has kind of been since last season the trend for Texas. They fade in the fourth quarter. They blew numerous leads last year to lose games. They lost to Kansas pretty much last year in the same fashion. They were winning the whole game. They were up by 10 starting the fourth quarter, and they melted. And they allowed Texas Tech to upset them.
You're going to have the same thing that you said. It was a Big 12 thing, because exactly, Texas does this also, but more frequently than Oklahoma. But I think also we don't forget they're leaving the Big 12. Texas Tech is one of their old rivals. I'm sure that game felt a little good to beat the Longhorns on the way out.
On the way, of course.
And, the way they lost even made it more special. To see a team like Texas choke this game. I thought eventually they'd start losing some games, because, they did play Alabama tight, but I don't know. It just didn't feel like, I said they were going to probably almost lose to, I think, what was it, Texas San Antonio? They ended up beating them late in the fourth quarter, making the score a little farther.
Lopsided.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't pick them or nothing, and this game was not on my radar because I was like, Texas Tech.
No, it was on mine.
It was on yours, betting wise.
And we gave it out. We gave it out.
It wasn't on my radar in thinking, but not shocked at all. Not shocked at all. They choked it away. Good for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, good one for them.
First of all,
probably the highlight of the season.
It was a good
3-1, so we can't really talk this.
Speaking of Raiders, it was a good week to be any kind of color Raiders in college football.
Trying to push that along.
Nah, I'll take it. I'll take my beating C.
We're gonna take our lumps.
The Blue Raiders came into Miami.
I could be happy with my Dolphins.
They were not concerned. The weather was good for them. It was nice and cloudy.
Apparently, it wasn't hot. No,
wasn't hot at all. It was a nice cloudy day, overcast, and they bombed. They played bombs over Baghdad over and over and over again because they just bombed the crap out of the Kings.
I didn't know we were playing Middle Tennessee State. I thought we were playing an actual Tennessee University because it was absurd.
Okay,
3 turnovers in the first 6 minutes. Now hold on for a second. I got to get this off my chest. 3 turnovers in the first 6 minutes,
yours?
Leading to I think a 17-0 start. I mean, just gross. And Van Dyke, I don't understand. Touted to be a first-round draft pick, and the regression. What is this? I mean, I don't understand this. This guy has gone from first-round draft pick to kid. You need to stay to your senior, and I don't even know if you're going to play in the NFL anytime soon. Because, I mean, he's just missing passes left and right. We gave him a little bit of the, dropsies for the A&M game. But this game was absurd.
No,
to the point where we needed to get rid of you.
I'm gonna be honest with you. And again, he's been showing since the Southern Miss game that he doesn't make the right throws on the right time. When there are dropsies, you have to overcome them. It is part of the game. And he has just not gotten to where he needs to be. Garcia came in, and I thought did a phenomenal job. I thought Garcia was going to bring them back. So much so that it cost me money. But again, I didn't think our defense was going to play that bad. I really never thought our defense was going to lay an egg.
We were never really in this game. This game, we never had a chance to win this game. I'm going to say this right now. However, that one time, he did lead the drive. We scored. We got the 3-and-out. First time the whole day, the stadium was going crazy on defense. We had 3-and-out. We get the ball back. We drive, and we did what we couldn't do in the first half. We did the same thing. 4 downs inside the 10-yard, and we couldn't score on this team. Are you kidding me? And then, see, I got no problem going for it. You leave them at the 1-yard line. We should be able to stop you, get the ball back with good field position. But no, they did not once, not twice, not 3 times. I felt like I was listening to LeBron talk about his titles. 4 times they went deep. 4 times. Boo!
Straight go.
We got 1 receiver.
Straight go.
2 catches averaging 85.5 yards.
The quarterback's average per throw was 32 yards at one point.
So that I saw that stat.
32 yards per throw. Can you imagine
Saturday.
that is?
He completed.
That's insane.
He completed 16 passes.
I'd never seen that
for
before.
408
I've never seen
yards.
that before.
32 yards per pass.
Listen,
16 passes for 408 yards. What is going on?
We've watched all type of college football in our days. I mean, even when it was the best UM team and they were playing, Sister Mary's, whatever, Port College, I've never seen 4 bombs like that on a team. You learn after 1 or 2. Get someone back there.
Listen,
it was atrocious.
And we were talking.
I've never seen.
We were talking earlier on,
play like.
And that's one of the things that bothered me though. We kept on playing man-to-man, bump and run on that kid. Listen, either marry the DB. Hey, you're the fastest guy. You go wherever he goes, or back him up at 7.
Bracket him.
Back him up at 7. For goodness sakes, like what are we thinking? Obviously, they bombed you 3 times already. How many more? How many bombs do you want to give up?
Yeah, and so, trying to process the game and the whole TVD issue and the defense, like, you can kind of feel this coming, like, with the Texas A&M game. And listen, hear me out now, right? Like he kind of wore out his chance to prove that that's his team. You get what I'm trying to say?
You mean you felt the situation with DVD
like
coming?
It was building.
Not that this game was coming.
No.
But that he was going to get benched.
No one in their right mind.
No, not
You're thinking that you're saying
quarterback.
You're saying the quarterback was benching was coming.
Correct. This had been building to it kind of felt that way already, right? Like Texas A&M playing, or in the Texas A&M game, defense is playing lights out, keeping us in the game. We're not getting anything done on offense. That has an effect, especially with the defense.
What was the halftime score against Southern Miss? What was the halftime score? Wasn't it 7-3? I think it was 7-3 or 10-7. We just scored at the end of the first half to go up 10-7. We scored at the end of the first half to take the lead going into the locker room. We were dominant against Southern Miss. Our offense did nothing. This game, finally, Mallory started catching some, but that's another guy that has been a complete letdown.
Yeah, and listen, you've been in the game damn near your entire life, and we understand, we've seen a lot of football. At that point when these things are happening, it gets to a point, not that they're actively doing it or making that decision, but the defense as a whole starts to be like, well, how much more do we have to do? And eventually, the dams break, right?
Poor play is contagious. Just like good play is contagious, poor play is contagious.
But even having said all of that, you could have said he was playing a great defense from the SEC at Texas A&M. We still kind of, out to our offense did handle them. The amount of first downs, moving the ball, he did have bad plays. But there's no way I could see in a million years the kind of game he was going to have against Middle Tennessee State, a team that had never beaten a ranked opponent in their history.
I mean,
just absurd.
We start Garcia, right? Like that's the move now, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I mean, to me, in my opinion, I think Garcia is the one that starts this game. And I'm going to be honest with you now, with North Carolina, if we fool around, they're going to score 35 in the first half.
Well, we lost 62-38 a few years ago, so we know they can score.
But I'm saying the quarterback's a freshman, but they're slinging it. They're scoring points. So, again, if we don't come out of the gate running, we're falling behind.
Here's the good thing. We had a bye week this week. You got time, if you're going to make that move, to put him under. He had the second half to play. I don't think it's going to be the biggest thing in the world for him starting that he's going to get off flustered. If you decide to go with Garcia, you go with him. And I think we have a decent chance of winning this game with him. However, if North Carolina looks at that game from last week and goes, hey, I know where we're going. Let's go deep. And we can't cover that because we were exposed.
That's another kid that needs to be benched.
We were exposed.
If that kid can't cover that, if we're going to play bump and run, if we're going to go back to the days of playing bump and run, man to man, one high, we better have the corners that can do it.
100%.
Because they're going to be tried. And again, like you said, North Carolina is going to try us.
And and I was just going to say that. That every other team now in the AC, and everybody is going to go and be like, oh, listen, we're going to test you guys up top early and often and deal with it. And figure it out.
The only thing I can just pull out of my, right here to talk about this, Nick Saban came in his first year, lost to Louisiana Monroe. Other great coaches, their first year have lost some games. So we're not going to crown champions after a couple weeks, and we're not going to fire people after 4 weeks either.
No.
But this cannot continue. This needs to improve. You have your bye week. You're starting the. I don't want to even say this, but I have to say this because technically, everything they have in front of them is still in front of them. They haven't played a conference game yet, and your whole season can change if you win these games.
100%.
And even at the end, you could look back and say, hey, we had those 2 bad games.
This
the early
aberration,
season.
right.
And this is where, is it going to be an aberration or is it going to be the consistent team we're going to have all year?
From the get-go, I do believe that we said this was a work in progress. Okay? Did any of us expect this? No, of course not. But this is a work in progress. There's a lot of stuff still that needs to be cleaned out. There's still a mindset that has to be changed. There's a culture that needs to be established. Exactly. Cristobal and the coaching staff cannot get things done in 5 months. I don't care who you are.
I expected 3-1. I'm a game off. I just did not expect how we got that game off. So I'm done with thinking anything other than one game at a time. I don't care if they come out against North Carolina and they put up 10 touchdowns and shut them out, and you're like, oh my God, they just beat an ACC team that's a quality team. Oh, maybe they're turning the corner. Nah. That's how they played that game. And we need to come out every game. Maybe Maito, give a call to Mike McDaniel because he knows about game at a time. Each game is your Super Bowl. Each game is your title. It's just that game. Focus on that game. And don't look forward. Don't look back. If you got a quarterback that is sticking from the week before, I can't get these drops out of my head. I don't need you. Get out of here. That poor guy is going to be doing NIL stuff for $7.90 this weekend on Friday. This is going to be very hilarious to me how many people are going to show up to say, hey, how you doing, backup?
Yeah, no bueno. No
Nah,
bueno.
bad timing. One. So, unfortunately, that's enough.
But listen, the good part is they have time to circle the wagons now and get it right. So let's if we got it out of our system, everybody.
Let's talk about football. Let's talk about college football this week.
You're good
without the Hurricanes.
You're good. Everybody's good. We're vented out. All right. Yeah. So Grizz, give me your game this week that you wanna see that you're looking forward to in week 5.
I was really liking this Kentucky Mississippi because Kentucky's number 7 overall. Wow. But Gil had reminded me we got Clemson and NC State. This is the game. Gil's been circling. He spoke a little bit about it earlier. NC State's his team, his little dark horse. I haven't felt that they have warranted, but they're still here. So I want to hear a little bit more.
Let the man look at his stats up. But they are ranked.
This man has his stats in his head.
They are ranked 10th in the nation.
No, and listen. At the end of the day, this is a big mountain to climb.
This is it.
There's no guarantees. This is a game where the NC State offense has to come together, make plays. The defense has to put DJ Ungalale in bad positions and expose him. Not let him run his way out of it. Not let the Clemson running game. That's going to be the key to this football game, is the Clemson running game.
Yeah, the offense is going to score points.
That is how they have been able to keep things going, keep DJ out of trouble, is the running game. NC State needs to come in. NC State needs to shut down the running game and put them in 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9. Put them in 3rd and long situations and make DJ beat them. That's the way I look at this game.
Put the game in his hands.
Put the game in his hands, and then go ahead and do a couple things with coverage and see if he can handle it. See if he can do it. See if he gets a happy feet. See if he misses short arms. Does the things that he knows how to do. Because he's shown that he's not that high-quality quarterback. Now, if the running game is moving, if things are, if they're in 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, it's a different ball game. Okay, NC State was able to win last year at NC State. This is a different game. They're at Clemson. Okay, Clemson is a 6.5 point favorite. They are a 6.5 point favorite. I'm waiting to see if the line goes to 7. I will take the 7 because I do think NC State is a live dog in this game. Now, they've had their ups and downs this season. They've continued to win. They've been able to get there undefeated. Let's see what happens today. Tomorrow, this weekend is Saturday. Let's see what happens Saturday. And this makes their season. This is make or break for them. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, can he do it, right? Can he take control of a game, right? And will he make you say his name right next week? Right?
I did say his name right.
Ukulele.
No, it's not ukulele. I said ungalele. I've been practicing it. Trust me.
So we're gonna jump to the game where the Grizz just mentioned here at the opening or at the start of this part of the segment. Kentucky versus Ole Miss. Kentucky ranked 7 in the nation. When was the last time you thought that? You were probably just a young whippersnapper. I probably wasn't even born when that happened.
I don't think that's ever happened.
7 in the nation against Ole Miss, right?
We're talking football, not basketball.
With Ole Miss, which is ranked 14th in the nation. A surprising start to the season, right, for them overall. And it's actually kind of a fun thing to see, a feel-good story because they've been a doormat for so long.
No, but Kentucky. Okay, but hold on. Let's back up the beep 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 beep. Let's back up the truck a little bit. Okay. No, They have not been a doormat for so long.
Sir.
If you take a look at Mark Stoops' record, Mark Stoops has been a winner since he's been there. He's taken them to consecutive bowl games. He's been having a winning record. He's had a winning record against the Gators. He has got that team playing very, very well. They've adapted. Their offense has not always been cutthroat or cutting edge or whatever you call it. Their defense has always been real tough. But Kentucky football has been good for the last 5 or 6 seasons. Now, are they national championship good?
Relatively.
No, they're not national championship
Relatively.
good. Coach, they're winning. They're winning double-digit games. They're 10-win seasons. Like again, we get caught up in all this. Oh, you're not in the national championship conversation. You're not a good football program. That's not true. That is not true at all. Kentucky football has been very, very good and competitive.
Is it safe to say you're taking them this week?
I mean, I'm leaning that way. I really am.
Defend your pick, Gil.
No, I'm
gonna have to go and vouch for Gil here. You got, since 2016, since Mark Stoops took over, 6 straight bowls they've gone to. So they've been to a bowl game every year under his watch. That's pretty good if I say so myself. And they never beat Florida. They lost for 30 years. They've beaten them like 3 years.
Until he got there.
Hold on. They've beaten them like 3 or 4 times in the last 5 or 6 years. It's not overnight. It's just it started 6 years ago, and now they're the 7th best team in the country, the AP poll says. So it's a building in progress, and these are the results that are coming to fruition.
It's coming to fruition, correct.
And that's why when you called them the doormat, I had to step in because they're not there. Now,
that's Vanderbilt's place. Listen. Leave Vanderbilt where they need to be.
Correct.
They were.
Kentucky's always been a team that they win, they're 5-6 games maybe trying to get to a bowl, and then they lose to the good
And let me
ones.
tell you something. To his credit, to Stoops' credit, offensively, he has evolved. He brought in a Kyle Shanahan guy last year with this quarterback, Will Levin, and that guy left to go back to the pros. He brought another Shanahan guy in to take over for him. They're throwing the football. They run the ball. The quarterback is an excellent player. He's one of those kids that might end up playing on Sundays. He's a really good-looking guy, 6-something. I mean, he throws the ball, moves well, is aggressive. Again, I really like this Kentucky team because they're a tough-nosed team.
Well, okay? Mark Stoops,
Will Levis.
Look, Mark Stoops has led them to 2 10-win seasons.
Again.
Before he was there, they hadn't won 10 games since 1977.
Correct.
So, yeah, I mean,
that's why I said
they're playing phenomenal.
They are. And I'm going to tell you something. He took exception a few weeks ago. Coach Calipari was talking, we're a basketball. And he took exception to it. He said, no, hold on. We're not just a basketball school. Our basketball team is phenomenal, but we're a good foot. Yeah, I'm telling you. And Stoops has done a great job there, hasn't left, and is building a nice SEC program.
What if we see Kansas versus Kentucky in the national championship in football? Would that be crazy?
Wow.
Whoa,
I think Kansas is a long way. I don't think Kansas. I think Kansas.
Man, 2 undefeated teams, man.
I think Kansas falls from the undefeated this weekend.
Well, let's stay in the SEC right now. You had mentioned them before at the beginning of the segment. Texas A&M, Mississippi State. You think that there's a huge test for Texas A&M, right? Let's see what happens with the game manager, right? And if he can step up to the plate here, because they're, like you said, Jimbo Fisher, offensive, supposed to be offensive guru, and they haven't really been. They've been sputtering.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, Mississippi State is one of the best kept secrets in the SEC. Mike Leach is doing a phenomenal job with that offense. The quarterback Rodgers is hitting guys all over the place. They're on point, and their defense, which is not something that Mike Leach is really well known for. Their defense is balling. They're playing really, really well. They're playing at home this weekend. And again, I don't think Texas A&M gets past Mississippi State.
I'm with you there. A lot of cowbell this weekend.
A lot of cowbell. That's hilarious. Let's jump into another top 25 matchup, this time ACC. Okay, we're looking at Wake Forest and FSU. What do you think goes on here? A lot of points being scored. What do you guys think?
I don't think FSU stops Wake Forest. I don't know if the quarterback. I don't know who's playing quarterback. I haven't really looked into that game. I got to take a look at it to see who's playing quarterback for FSU. If the starter's back, It's going to be okay. I think the backup slings the ball a little bit nicer than he does. So, but I do think, yes, that the points will be scored.
Let's jump over to the Baylor game in the Big 12, right? Baylor, Oklahoma State, right? Another top 25 matchup. Baylor's ranked 16th. Oklahoma State is in the top 10, ranked number 9. Listen, this is, a few years back, right? It was Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Oklahoma, and they were round-robin team for the Big 12 trying to get into the playoff, right? So it looks like, they're kind of starting to get back into that. There's going to be a big matchup for them. What do you guys think happens here? Another game, a lot of points?
This, for me, is the last hope for the Big 12, because if OK State can run the table and go undefeated, they might have a say. But this is what's going to happen. Baylor's going to win this game. It's going to go back to that. It's going to be a revolving door. I think it'll be ending up Baylor, Oklahoma State vying for that. But they're going to probably end up with 2 losses, whoever gets out of there. Nobody in the playoffs. But if Oklahoma State can win this game, hope is still alive.
I think Baylor wins. I don't think the Oklahoma State defense plays good enough to stop Baylor. Baylor's playing at home, and Baylor's front four is an incredible, formidable front. I think that's where the difference comes in on the defensive side. I think Oklahoma State is still trying to find its identity on defense. Their defensive coordinator left to Ohio State. So I think that's where the difference comes in on the defense side of the ball. I think that's where Baylor wins. And Baylor might even they're 2.5-point favorites. So I think they win by more than a field goal.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's like, and it's funny, you kind of touched on it, like the Big 12, you never know, like you can't even, no one says it with confidence, right? Like with the other teams we talk about in the other conferences, you say your picks with confidence. Big 12 never happens because you don't know what's going to go on.
Listen, it's Big 12 and Pac-12. By the first week of October, you're already out of the playoffs, basically. If USC doesn't win, who knows? But this is, unfortunately, this is these conferences right now.
Yep. So listen, I think that about wraps it up for this week. It's going to be another fun week. We got some big games coming up, and as always, we hold ourselves accountable to our picks in the next episode. We're going to be right back to close out the show with the deep dive. And we're back to wrap up the show with our weekly deep dive with Coach. Hey, talk to me. How you doing in the standings?
Oh, we ended up going 6-5 for the week. The 2 games in the NFL got us over to the positive side for the week. We ended up losing, like we mentioned before, Texas at the end of the game. We won with Baylor. With Coastal Carolina, destroyed and won comfortably. Duke covered. That would have been a great game to get a middle, because all of a sudden that line moved to -7, and Kansas ended up winning by 8. So we got that one. And we also were able to cover with Oregon State +7 against USC.
Disgusting.
USC did not.
Disgusting.
I told you they were not going to cover. And they almost lost the game. They almost lost the game. USC had to score at the end of the game to win. They scored with 40 seconds left in the game to win that game. Told you, Oregon State is the real deal.
So dirty that you.
Oregon State is solid. I told you. And then on the pro side, we went with another little ugly dog. We took our Colts +7, and we took the Denver and San Francisco under 45, which was never a sweat either.
Yeah,
I went to sleep so. No, what a great way to go to sleep on that one. That was 3-0, I think, at halftime, or 7-3.
What an atrocity!
It was phenomenal.
What a snoozer!
It was phenomenal. This week we're a little chalky. A little chalky this week. We took Minnesota at -10.5. They're up to 12.5. The line has moved incredibly in Minnesota's favor. They're playing Purdue at home. We're taking Iowa State -3.5 against the Kansas Jayhawks. I think the swan song for the Kansas Jayhawks has arrived. The line has moved against us to 3, but the Jayhawks are getting 89-90% of the bets. If I'm not mistaken, the Jayhawks are picking up 90% of the bets.
Fade the public.
Everybody in America is jumping. They love Kansas. Again, Kansas is a great story. I think they're doing a great job. Again, we talked about it before the season started. We liked them. We thought they were going to be good. So, but we're there. This is a team that burns me every year, whether I go with them or against them. But I think Toledo's going to come home. They just lost last week. A tough game to San Diego State. I think they come home and they win this game against Central Michigan. It's the MAC opener. I think the San Diego State defense is a lot tougher. And they had the game. They scored, and they let them score again with 1:20 left in the game.
This feels like deja vu from last year.
It is what it is, man. I mean, Toledo's a good offense. Their quarterback is a great athlete. I like him a lot. I'm taking Miami of Ohio money line. They've played a much tougher schedule than Buffalo has. Buffalo is the favorite. People are on Buffalo. I just think Miami of Ohio.
Where's that game played?
At Buffalo.
Okay.
It's going to be at Buffalo.
Making sure, these Buffalo people don't like to play at Miami.
Right. But again, we like them. We're on a game on Thursday night. We like Boise, -6 at home. I think Boise wins that one. And then in the NFL, as I mentioned earlier, we talked about earlier, I'm on the under of the Buffalo-Baltimore game. And I'm keeping an eye on the Jacksonville game. If the Jacksonville line moves to 7, I'll take it. If not, I mean, I will probably play it at 6.5 anyways if it stays there. I do think that Philly's going to win, but I think that Jacksonville has enough in the tank to cover. I like the idea that Doug Peterson was the head football coach at Philly for many years. So I think he knows them. He knows the people there. So again, I do think that their offense is playing really well. I think they're doing good things with Christian Kirk, and the quarterback is making some good moves.
Trevor Lawrence turning the corner there. Enough for you to potentially pick him.
Yeah, imagine what happens when Urban Meyer's not your coach.
Oof. 2-finger Willie. What can I tell you?
Finger pistols.
Okay.
Stop kicking kickers.
Hey, but can they kick some? The kicker kick? I kick them too. But and that's it. That's it for our deep dive this week. We'll add anything else on Twitter. So please follow along. I'm sorry. I've also taken Denver. I also like Denver plus 2.5 against the Raiders.
Wow. You pick picking against your own squad.
Money has no team colors.
Everybody's crapping on Denver. For whatever reason, everybody still thinks the Raiders can play. We said it again earlier in the pod during our previews. The Raiders were lucky last year. They got really, really, really lucky. It's not that they're a bad team. Their offensive line is super bad.
And as terrible as Denver's played, they're the second best team in that division.
No, I mean, again, they're in a position where I think that they can win with their defense. I think they're going to be able to throw the ball. I think this is a game where Russell finally gets a few more completions because our DBs are not good. The Raider defensive backfield, the back 7, is not good. We talked about this the other day. Last year, our defense is very sack dependent. Okay, all we do is depend on the sack. Our guys aren't sacking anybody right now.
Listen, I'm not discrediting anything that you're saying right now. I'm just surprised that you're taking the team whose head coach had to hire a consultant to help him coach the game because he's in over his head. So
listen,
interesting.
Man, at the end of the day, at least he's smart enough to know that he needs some help. Okay?
A real man knows when to ask for help.
At least he knows he needs some help. Because sometimes our ego doesn't allow us to ask for help. And with the boat is sinking.
Yeah, if you're stubborn enough.
They're running out of rafts and you're like, we're fine. We're going to win. We got this.
That's the last guy drowning.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, if it goes to 3, I think it's a great take at 3. I think it's a fantastic take at 3. Okay? Again, I think Denver's defense is going to travel. Vegas is getting 80% of the bets. I don't know why. I don't know. Again, everybody hates Denver. I get it. But when everybody hates a team,
you fade.
No, you take them. When everybody hates that team, you take that team because everybody hates them. Oh, they can't win. They're super bad. Just like last week with the Colts. Oh, they can't win. No, they can. And in the NFL, they usually do.
Sir, he said that 80% of the money is on Las Vegas.
No, I didn't say that. I said 80% of the bets. 80% of the bets are on Vegas.
Got it.
Okay? And when 80% of the bets are on the Raiders, and 78% of the money is on Las Vegas, again, that doesn't correlate because you got 80. So if I got 80, I should have 90 something or 100% of the money on them. So, like I said, that's where we're going. That's what we like.
All right. Well, hopefully you can keep building there, gentlemen. I think
God willing.
Then that does it for us this week. I do. We're gonna give it to Grizz here because he does want to shout out another great.
I mean, we've had a couple greats this year leave the tennis world, and the latest is Mr. Roger Federer, Mr. Fed. I argue probably 5 years ago, no doubt the greatest tennis player of all time. Guy's probably third now. It's crazy because Novak and Rafi have more majors. They're probably going to even have like 3 or 4 more than him. But
again, we go back.
I still think Roger Federer was built as the perfect tennis player.
We go back to the conversation of a top 5.
Yeah,
because
interchangeable.
Exactly, top 5, just like we talked about Serena. Top 5, whatever you're looking for.
And
defense.
for what it's worth.
And he was, and what happened the other night was amazing.
Oh, him and Nadal teaming up. Oh.
And it was touching to watch them get emotional, and it really shows you the sportsmanship and respect that those guys had for each other.
Yeah, this is the ultimate sport by yourself. You're playing, golf and tennis is the ultimate solo sport, and the rare times that they get to play these team events, which this was actually this event was because of Roger Federer. He's the one that got this created with Laver, who's his all-time great. Here's the thing: I'm glad to see Murray was there. The greats. Novak, he played with Nadal. Nadal's crying. When Roger's crying, he's crying. You could tell that they were fierce rivals. And in the last decade, they've talked about it openly, how they've become better friends. And it's amazing to me because you're talking about 3 of the greatest tennis players of all time. And you could just pick that guy, pick that guy, or pick that guy. You can't lose your argument.
Well, and then going off of that point, right? You said you just said that 5 years ago he was probably the best ever, and now
without even thinking about
it. Now there's these other guys that are in the Nadal was always in the conversation.
They were in the conversation too, but you were like, could they really catch him?
Right.
And then it's Djokovic. I think Djokovic is like the Terminator. You would say to me, it's like Jordan is Federer. You got LeBron is Djokovic. Like he's a more built perfection, and then Rafa is the ultimate heart. Like that guy, he can only win on the clay. He's got 8 other majors, which is more than half anybody else. Well, so both of those guys became better because of Roger Federer,
for sure.
Because that guy won 15 of those majors in a 5-year span before I think Novak even won his first.
Right, but to the points that you made, it's pretty safe to say that this was the golden age, right? And in men's tennis with those.
We've had a little bit because remember, if you go back and you take a look at the McEnroe, Connors, Borg, you had those 3-4 guys. Before that was Laver and a couple of other guys. And then as you move forward, you have Agassi, Sampras. You've for whatever reason, tennis has moved in 3s.
Yeah.
You get 3 guys that are studs, and they fight each other.
Last one,
right?
Light years. It took it to the next level. Where my argument is Andy Murray won 3, and without these guys in his way, probably would have won 15.
Right.
Murray was okay.
And
Murray was okay.
I think he was a really great. That's the thing.
But what I'm trying to say is
these
correct. That's what I'm saying. He played with these guys that were so good that he was okay.
Right.
He could have been phenomenal,
amazing.
But he was just okay.
And
he was born at the wrong time.
There was there's 4 other guys I could probably name that would probably be 8, 9, 10 major winners.
It's like all the greats that were born in Jordan's era. They were just born in the wrong decade.
But to have, I'm telling you, 20, 21, 63 majors by 3 guys out of the last 75.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just
crazy.
That's ridiculous. So I just wanted to shout out. He had retired last week, and we're probably never going to see that kind of guy again.
Thoughts? I think we're good, gentlemen.
We're good.
Just want to shout out our consistent sponsor, General Carnitas Gourmet Meats. Okay? You can order online at generalcanitas.com. All right? Servicing all of your needs when it comes to game day.
And never more have you wanted to have your sausage than right now. Football season.
Tailgate season, baby.
Get your meat, baby. Get your meat.
Especially
and get
your
it delivered.
sausage.
Get it delivered.
Same day delivery.
Spicy
Order before
sausage.
12. 2 coaches, 1 Grizz. Out.